All right, we are officially live. Welcome to Flav Oriana's MMA show. I'm your host, Flav Oriana, brought to you by Four Corners Sports. All right, guys, so we're back on this live. Yes, we are. We're back on the live. We had yesterday's card headlined by, it was supposed to be originally Curtis Blaydes versus Derek Lewis, but had a little bit of complications with that. Instead, it was Devin Clark versus Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, once again, is main eventing a card, a fight night, not a pay-per-view. All right, so we'll get to it. So Curtis Blaydes was originally supposed to fight Derek Lewis, the Black Beast Derek Lewis, fan favorite, one of my favorites too. Supposed to headline UFC Vegas 15. I think it's UFC Vegas 15, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't happen, unfortunately. Curtis Blaydes tested positive for COVID. Tested positive, I think it was on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't give much time notice for anybody to fill in. All right. Sucks. Wanted to see Derek Lewis fight. On paper, the card didn't have really much name value. I mean, but overall, I gotta say the card, it wasn't bad. I was expecting a snoozer. No, it really wasn't a snoozer. I'm sorry if I'm really touching my nose. Just feel a little bit like itchy, but that's neither here neither there. Yeah, I gotta say the card wasn't that bad at all. It really wasn't. You had who ended up fighting? Steve Pierce and Kai Kamaka. Phenomenal fight right there. I mean, Steve Pierce did his thing last time. I think Steve Pierce ended up fighting Joe Lozon. You know how that ended up going. Joe Lozon had like this inverted like arm triangle, or I don't know what he had. Like he ended up cranking this guy's arm, about to like rip the guy's arm out of his socket. Was phenomenal. That happened at UFC Boston, one of the better fight night cards that I actually seen. But anyways, Steve Pierce ended up beating Kai Kamaka. You had Ashley Evans Smith versus Norma Dumont. Dumont ended up missing weight by 4.5 pounds. Honestly, to me, that fight should have never even happened. I mean, it was a women's bantamweight fight, and for her to be 4.5 pounds overweight, ridiculous. Then again, being if Mike Perry was able to weigh 5 pounds over the weight limit, then I guess it was fine for Norma to take that. But Ashley Evans Smith takes 30% of Norma's pay. But Ashley Evans Smith ends up losing by unanimous decision. If you call me, I think those 4.5 pounds for Norma Dumont did her well. I mean, she had a lot of pop in that jab. I mean, she was touching up Ashley Evans Smith. I don't even think she needed those 4.5 pounds extra. But what's it called? Once again, Ashley Evans Smith, supposed to be favorite, ends up losing. Norma Dumont looks pretty promising with her boxing. Boxing looked phenomenal. Her ground game looked great. You also had Parker Porter versus Josh. Can't pronounce his name. This guy was like a multiple time Dana White Contender Series, participant, was on the Ultimate Fighter. Finally, after 10 years of trying to get to the UFC, he makes it, loses to Parker Porter. Parker Porter ended up getting beaten by Chris Dawkins in his UFC debut back in August. And Parker Porter, comes in second fight in the UFC, finally gets his UFC victory, his first UFC victory. But we have Miguel Baeza ended up facing Takashi Sato. Miguel Baeza improves to 10-0. Gets his very first submission victory in his MMA career. Wants to face is calling out Giga Chikadze. Very surprised, didn't see that coming. I would actually like to see that, but that should be interesting in my opinion. And then lastly, the main event. Devin Clark versus Anthony Lionheart Smith. Anthony Smith has been going through a rough patch, been losing, lost to John Jones, lost to Glover Teixeira, lost to who else did he end up losing to? Alexander Rakic, right? Alexander Rakic is going to end up fighting Thiago Santos. That should be a great fight. That should be a really good fight. But he finally gets back into the win column, beats up Devin Clark. He took advantage of Devin Clark's explosiveness. He knew that Devin Clark wasn't going to be able to handle that type of pace through 3 rounds, let alone 5. That's why they both agreed to 5. I mean, Anthony Smith has been a veteran. I mean, this guy's been there, done that, understands how to pace himself for 5 rounds. But fight only ended up lasting just a couple of minutes into the first round. Anthony Smith is on the floor, was patient enough, allowed Devin Smith to get to where he wanted to be or where he thought he should be. Anthony Smith just converted that into a triangle chokehold, forcing Devin Clark to tap out, and Anthony Smith finally gets back to the win column. So what should happen for Anthony Smith? Honestly, he should really fight Luke Rockhold. If Luke Rockhold is being serious that he wants to fight again and he wants to fight at light heavyweight, he should fight Luke Rockhold. I think that's honestly the best fight. These two don't really like each other at all. It all really started with Luke Rockhold, pretty much diminishing Anthony Smith's, skill set as for why he's having a title shot. And Luke Rockhold and Anthony Smith should honestly just settle it in the octagon. As for other news, so Curtis Blaydes was not the only one that had gotten COVID. Also had Kevin Holland that tested positive for COVID. Kevin Holland's supposed to headline next week's main event. So they actually got a new opponent for Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson will officially now fight Marvin Vettori. I think that should be a great fight. These two are both, going to try to go in for the kill. They're both, finishers. I don't know who's going to win this fight. Marvin Vettori is finally getting what he wants, a big push. He is ranked number 13. Jack Hermanson is ranked number 4. If Marvin Vettori gets the win, he'll go slide into the top 10 and with a well-deserved ranking as well too. As for Jack Hermanson, he's got a lot to lose here. Him fighting the number 13th guy, he really shouldn't be fighting Marvin Vettori. But I congratulate the guy for taking all newcomers coming towards his direction. So what's going to happen with Kevin Holland? Well, it's just musical chairs. Marvin Vettori was scheduled to fight Jacare Souza, and they just flip-flopped opponents. So Marvin Vettori is no longer going to be fighting on UFC 256. He will now be fighting on the main event for a fight night, which I think Marvin Vettori kind of prefers more because UFC wants to have a person at least main event a fight night before they can even get closer to a title shot. So if he is able to last all 5 rounds, or if he's able to get a victory in a 5-round fight, then it gets him closer to where he wants to be at middleweight. See, this actually happened the same thing with Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes was in a 5-round, was scheduled to have a 5-round fight with Chris Weidman. Ends up knocking out Chris Weidman inside the first round. And then next thing you know, gets a title shot with John Jones. So 5-round fights are very important. But now it sucks for Kevin Holland. I think Kevin Holland ends up getting the big L in this situation because he was in a fight, Jack Hermanson, who's ranked number 4. Kevin Holland is not ranked at all. So he is fighting an unranked opponent in Jacare Souza. So Kevin Holland got screwed over, but it's all right because he's going to be on a pay-per-view. This guy's been fighting left and right since May. So why not? Let's have this guy fight. He's actually doing the right thing. Keep on taking short notice fights. The more short notice fights he's doing, of course, the more he's going to get paid. And then also the more exposure he's going to end up having with all this winning that he's doing so far. All right, this guy ended up beating up on that guy he was supposed to fight in the regional scene. Can't remember his name. That long, tall, skinny guy ended up beating up on Joaquin Buckley. This guy is right now 4-0, trying to become the 3rd, if not the 4th fighter to be 5-0 in 1 calendar year. That's pretty amazing stuff. We also have, obviously, December 19th will be the last card that got announced on what was it, UFC 255. That got announced with Hamza Chimaev versus Leon Edwards, Marlon Chito Vera versus Jose Aldo, Jeff Neal versus Stephen Thompson, Greg Hardy's on that card too. Phenomenal fight. Chaos Williams versus Michelle Pieta. But the UFC also officially announced yesterday UFC 256 card. So UFC 256 is now officially in the books. I'm going to grab my phone, right? And I'm going to tell you guys. So UFC 256, right? It's headlined by Deiveson Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Both fighters are swinging it around. I think this is going to be the first time in UFC history, the same fighter is headlining back-to-back pay-per-views, because that's pretty remarkable on Deiveson Figueiredo. And you got the co-main event, Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira, Kevin Holland versus Jacare Souza, Angela Hill versus Tisha Torres. You have Mackenzie Dern versus Verna Jandiroba, if I'm saying that correctly. You also have Peter Barrett versus Chase Hooper. You get the return of Chase Hooper. Billy Quarantillo versus Gavin Tucker. Rafael Fiziev versus Renato Monsonia. I mean, Carl Roberson's on this card too. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, for what it's worth, like I said, not that much name value on this card, but you have Tony Ferguson as the co-main event, and Deiveson Figueiredo is back at headlining the card, plus all those other names that I mentioned. I mean, it's actually going to be a pretty exciting card, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna watch it because I have to cover it, but it is something for you fans. Should definitely tune in. Obviously, the January 23rd pay-per-view is going to be a lot more star-studded as opposed to UFC 256. And same thing with, UFC Fight Night, December 19th, which is going to be even more star-studded because you have the return of the King, Khamzat Chimaev, versus Leon Rocky Edwards. So that should be very interesting as well, too. I'm very much forward towards that. And then lastly, to kick it off, if I'm not missing anything whatsoever, we have more fights that were originally announced. Kelvin Gastelum is gonna end up fighting Ian Heinisch on January 30th of next year, and that should be a good fight. I mean, Ian Heinisch was originally supposed to be fighting what's his name? Brendan Allen, who ended up losing. And then lastly, you're gonna have Max Holloway the week before January 23rd, January 16th. He is fighting from New England's cartel, Calvin Kattar. Yes, Calvin Kattar versus Max Holloway. That should be a great fight. I know I said it in previous videos. Put that on the Conor card, because that's going to be bananas, but whatever. I mean, I want to see a 5-round fight between Holloway versus Kattar. This is actually going to be like the first time in like years, I say years, that Max Holloway is on a fight night, not on a pay-per-view, on a fight night. I cannot wait for that. Cannot wait for Holloway versus Kattar. That should be crazy. All right. This is going to be the second fight in a row that Calvin Kattar is main eventing. Last time he main evented was Dan Ige back in August. So, was it August or July? I believe it was July. But yeah, so look, we got a lot more exciting stuff coming into the UFC. Which is very unfortunate with all these COVID cases. You're obviously going to have that. The only thing I'm praying is please, please, please wrap up Leon Edwards and Khamzat Chimaev in a bubble so they don't have COVID whatsoever, because we cannot afford to lose Khamzat Chimaev main eventing a fight versus Leon Edwards, because that's going to be sick. That is going to be sick to close out the year. Until then, guys, thank you for tuning in on Flav Oriana's MMA show. Hit that like and subscribe button if you like this, and I will see you guys next time. All right, guys. Peace. Have a good one, and enjoy your Sunday. See you guys.